this spot right here is, I want to talk about the dynamics of clear cut. Now, if it was a really hot day, I probably would say this is pretty nice.
It's pretty hot and it's pretty nice.
But this is a great example of the problems that we face by heavy cutting. It doesn't always have to be clear cutting, but when you think about size of trees and how much room there is for sizes of trees on an acre, we have to consider these kinds of things. And what I want to leave you with is never, ever again accept a snapshot picture of a forest. We're standing 25 years after a forest, which is, none of it is here anymore. All of that forest is gone 25 years ago. This is a totally new forest. And what does that mean?
Opportunity.
It is opportunity as long as you keep your chainsaw sharp. Okay, now what I'm saying is we have now well over 1,000 stems per acre in this stand. Now, in that 25 years, any oak seedling has died because they could not compete with the maple. Okay, so in here, even though there would have been a few oak seedlings 25 years ago, there's none today. Because if you wanted oak, you had to come in here within 5 years and release those oak. All right, that didn't happen, so we have maple. And that's okay. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that that's an implication that change is always going to be happening. All right, now, when this becomes a mature forest with trees of a size that could be harvested, how many trees are going to be left per acre? About 160. So let's say we now have 1,200 per acre, and we're going to drop down to 160. Our options of getting there are to ignore it, right? Okay, if we ignore it, how long is it going to take for competition to take out 600 trees?
100 years.
Maybe, yeah. All right, so if in the meantime, it's only taxes. All right, so if we want to get this into some kind of productive, pay-for-itself forest, where we can't work with numbers of this magnitude, we have to start doing something. Now, there are, the extreme would be what we just left. Okay, and maybe an interim might be to reduce that stand where we just left, leave about 200 stems per acre. And it would be probably a reasonable compromise. But we can't leave it like this. We need to make a change. So at this density, what do we do to get things started? And my recommendation is that you never if you have the opportunity, get in there and start working, start doing something, even if it's wrong. Okay. Because it won't be wrong. All right, now we could identify trees like this dogwood that couldn't make it. Too much competition, not going to survive. All right, but we can't wait until trees are already dead. Here, this one's dead. This one's dead. Now, eventually, we will get to a density that the forest can sustain. My recommendation would be to go through here and just randomly pick out a tree that looks pretty good, like this maple, red maple. Okay. You look up at there, and there's no fork, right? Doesn't look too bad. There's another red maple here. Looks pretty good. There's a possibility of a fork developing right here. But we can easily, at this density, we can actually find trees that we could increase the growth rate phenomenally. It's just amazing how fast these trees will grow, because they have everything that they need. The mycorrhizae is in the soil here. And if they had the sunlight, they would be able to increase their crown many times. And the growth would be phenomenal. Now, and we have done this in a number of these stands. But this is what we start with. And it's never too early. We don't have to get rid of every small tree, but we should make sure that every tree that we want as a crop tree at least has a place for the crown to expand into. All right, sometimes, let's see, if I'm choosing this one right here, I really should take this one out.
Am I?
All right. If I had chosen this one as a crop tree, I should take this one out. And that's why you can't do anything wrong, because you're making decisions on a single tree, and you're helping that tree. That tree will forever be grateful. And it's amazing. The growth, it's phenomenal. Yeah.
There's no stumps here. Is this a mature forest of any kind when it was clear cut?
When it was clear cut, it was a maple forest. And maple stumps rot in about 10 years.
Yes.
If this was a cherry or an oak stump, they'd still be here. Yeah, this is a maple forest. And it makes sense that that's why there's such a seed source here. Most of these are seedlings. That would tell me that when they cut this, many of these were already advanced regeneration. This tall. But this tall and about 10 or 11 years old. And they were just taking advantage of being released.
So would you go through and count, like, say, 35, 40 trees per acre, or just pick nice trees and just forget them?
I would just pick nice trees to start with, and it will become a self-fulfilling prophecy. You know, you're going to automatically feel, gee, I'm too far. I ought to have something in the middle here, so I'll pick a little one and favor that. Or I'm saving too many, I better go back and get that one out. And it will really help. This is a great exercise in understanding your forest. But this, again, let me emphasize that for me, this is how you get to participate. And it's very rewarding. It's amazingly rewarding. Now, there will be areas in here, probably not right here because this was all maple, but there will be, every once in a while, there will be an oak that appears. All right. What that tells me, if I have a stand like this and there's just a few oak, I'm going to go through first and release all of the oak that I can in this stand. And then I'll work a little bit harder at identifying the maple. And I have a woodlot that I'm working on the last 10, 12 years where the stand was as dense as this or more so with tulip poplar. And the trees that I have released, when I released them, I was using loppers. They were approximately 1 inch in diameter. Now, 10 years later, I have most of the crop trees are bigger than 6 inches in diameter.
Wow.
It's phenomenal growth. Phenomenal growth. But and the neat thing about it is that they are all perfect trees. And I'm not discriminatory. I like perfect trees, but they wouldn't have to be perfect. It's just that there were so many choices that I like the perfect trees, so I favored that. And it is, so that's an experiment that I'm doing with tulip poplar. All right, I would do the same thing in the sugar maple here.
Yeah.
Or red maple. These are red maple. Yes.
Forget the context of this growth here, but excuse me.
Yeah.
This we've got like 1 million trees like this. And what would you do with this? Like, can you just cut that off down there and leave this, or because we're in a lot of our properties log, it's a mess.
Yeah. When you have a tree, a multiple stem tree like this, if this is the tree that you want to release, the best, the safest way to do the work is to you don't want to damage this in any way. So what I would suggest is that you cut this off fairly high.
Oh.
You know, it doesn't matter. You can cut it off waist high if you want to. And then after you have done that, you've gotten rid of the top, then you make a cut here just about 3/4 of the way through and leave that stick on. Now, it will die. And if it doesn't die, an amazing thing happens. It sprouts where you cut it off here, and the deer feed on that big time. This could be, like right now, there's 0 deer food. After doing improvement work in here, you could have an abundant amount of deer food, and they wouldn't bother a single one of your crop trees. It's amazing. But they have to understand that. I mean, you have to explain it to them. They get it.
Talk to them, huh?
Talk to them. Talk to them. It's okay.
So you can do this sort of treatment to any sort of species of tree, or
Yes.
you don't.
The important thing is you don't want to injure this in any way. If you just nick it with your chainsaw, that's a wound.
Yeah.
And fungus can go into that other stem. If you do not have to be concerned about a double tree like this cutting off one side, you have to do it before the cambial zone of both trees are crushed to death. As those stems grow together, the cambial zone will be crushed to death and fungus will go into both stems. But if you cut this off so that this side dies, this tree will form a natural barrier that will prevent fungus from coming into that stem. It's amazing. There are so many, we could talk a whole Woodswalk on defense systems of trees. It's fascinating. And they have all of these devices that can actually, they form a physical barrier. Different kinds of trees, let's say a cherry tree will actually make a barrier and enforce that barrier by filling the cells with pitch. Okay, cherry, that's cherry. Some trees like black locust reinforce that barrier by getting rid of everything that's within the cell. And you just have the cell wall and there's nothing for the fungus to eat. So it doesn't, that's why black locust doesn't rot. Because there's nothing for the fungus to eat. So why rot it? It's amazing how all of this stuff works together. And all you're trying to do is participate in the growth of your forest. And it's amazingly rewarding.
I understand.
Any questions at all about? Yes, I'm sorry.
In a screen like this, if you're gonna come in and do what you just explained, would you do cutting with saws or hack and squirt? Is there a preferred method?
I prefer cutting totally, but that's just myself. I don't. I'm not a licensed applicator, so I don't use the chemicals on other properties, and I kind of am happy with the results that I get. So.
What would you do with that tree? That tree stem guy there.
Okay, here we have a 3-stem. I look at this and actually the best tree, no, this isn't the best tree. The best tree is probably this one. So I would just cut this off here and then down here and then I would cut this one off. Just leave one. And then when I'm done with that cut, those 2 cuts, I look up in the tree and you'll be amazed at how small that opening is. And then I'll say, maybe I could make it a little bit bigger by going, let's see, right here. I think I'll take this one out too. And again, you can't do it wrong. The only way you could do it wrong is by not doing it.
Yep.
And
This I would think I would take it out because
you can take it out, but don't push it. Unless you have pretty good control, you don't want to risk damaging this tree.
Yeah.
And this is already dead, so it's going to fall off anyway.
Yeah.
And every tree, every log has a poor heart. So this is going to be within the heart of the tree when it's a log. So you're not going to improve the value by taking this off.
So since it's dead like that, you wouldn't just, it'll snap like a toothpick, you wouldn't break it off? You let it fall off naturally?
There's enough child in me that I would probably break it off. But it isn't necessary. It isn't necessary. If it was alive, it'd be more important, but it'd be removed than it's dead.
We were just talking, would you dare do this with a chainsaw in your hand, or should you go through with some flagging tape and then come back with a chainsaw? For average idiots like us.
No, a chainsaw this is chainsaw material. Now, it would have been nice to be in this stand 10 years ago with loppers.
No, but I mean, would you flag it, what you're gonna cut, and then come back with the chainsaw,
For
a second
somebody,
trip?
for novices like us,
Uh,
as opposed to
It
professional.
depends.
foresters.
If you have 2 hours to work, you better keep the chainsaw running.
Okay.
Okay.
You don't want to spend 2 hours hanging flags
Flags.
and not accomplish anything.
Oh, he's definitely gonna be getting the job done.
Okay.
Outstanding, thank you.
I got one question over here.
I do a lot of studying. Now that's a bigger tree, but within a log and a half it's forked. Now, this is a smaller tree, but there's no fork,
That was nice.
and that crown seems to be halfway decent size. Would you take that one out and leave this one?
It wouldn't matter. I would probably take that one out.
Okay.
Simply because it's red maple, and I would get, I'd be happy with a log and a half here soon.
It's almost like a nut.
So I would trade for the bigger tree just to shorten the length of time between commercial. But if you took that one and left this one, it would not make any big difference in the big picture as opposed to the other way around. The point is that whatever you release, make sure you look up there and see that you've done a job for the tree that you released. And it's, don't be paralyzed by thinking you're going to be doing something wrong. I've been doing things wrong all my life.
So,
Keeps me
Bruce,
going.
in terms of how much room you leave around it, is it better to do it when it's leafed out so you can actually see the full extent of the crown? Or,
Like my mom said, do it when you can.
okay, all right.
No, you can see the crown even without the leaves. You will be able to see the, and what I think you will see first is how amazingly small these crowns are.
Yeah.
And almost anything you do would be a benefit. So, but there's just probably I have always lamented the fact that I don't get to spend much time in the woods. I mean, I'm in the woods all the time, but not my own. So, you don't have to go through a stand like this, and don't fall for the trap of getting rid of everything that is not commercially important. Okay, what I may mean by that? Over here, for example, I have an aspen tree. There's 2 aspen trees. Here's another aspen tree. But you know what? Here's an oak. Now, this aspen tree is already dead. Why? Not because it's old. It's old in maturity sense because it's already competed with the maples and lost. So you could come through and get rid of all the aspen and probably not accomplish much of anything. Always find what is good. You know, like I would cut this down right now if I had a saw. You know, I don't want this here, I want this oak. All right, now what happens if you made the decision that this is my tree and I want to grow acorns more than anything? Okay, this would be a good one to do. It's right near the outside of an opening. You're going to have a massive crown, great production, and all of those things kind of fit into the picture. So my guess is that if you were to take your chainsaw and go for a walk along the edge of this forest, you might find a whole bunch of these little oaks. Well, wouldn't that be the best way, maybe, to start doing something in a little stand like this? You could almost see the size of it. There's an opening all the way around, so you could just begin with what looks really good.